Thank you for joining us once again on Growing Up on Death Row at 17. Right back here with Bryan Seddens, my co-host, the man with the plan, the man with the story. How you doing tonight, Bryan?
Oh, I'm good, David. Man, I'm good, man. Just read some stuff, man, that I hope that you really catch a hold to a lot of people and catch people attention.
Okay. Tell me what you read and we'll go from there.
Well, to be honest with you, David, I've been doing a lot of studying for the last five or 6 days. And sometimes when you want to understand people, you got to understand yourself. So you got to go within to find the root and cause of all problems and why you see things. During my researches, I ran across a story about a guy named George Stinney Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this brother was the youngest one to ever be executed at 14 years old. And his father, George Stinney Sr., and his mother, Amy Steiner, basically, man, they was a good, black family, man, living in the Jim Crow era.
And where was this?
This was in South Carolina.
Okay.
I think the town was Acapulco. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, he was born October 21st, 29. He died June the 16th, 1944.
And that died by execution.
Died by execution, yes, sir.
Gotcha.
He was accused of killing two white girls. Back during the Jim Crow era, most blacks didn't really have a strong stance on anything. It was still considered borderlines to where George Stinney Jr. and his family, they were separated by a white neighborhood through a railroad track. And from my studying, and he was so interested, man, the case was that it actually hurt me. It actually brought tears to my eyes, man, to where I didn't know, or I never knew the history of our brothers and sisters back in the Jim Crow era. And it was pretty harsh, man. And after reading the story and listening to some of the audio that was provided for Mr. Stinney Jr., it was the work of our own people, man, that actually got him executed. And what I mean by that is, when the girls was found dead, a teacher that was a seventh grade teacher at the school that Mr. George Stinney Jr. went to, seventh grade teacher testified that Mr. Stinney was carrying around knives in school and scratching little girls with it, and claimed he scratched that same little girl 2 days before she was murdered. And
this was a black teacher said this?
It was a black teacher. Yeah, it was a black teacher.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand the story, right?
Yes, sir. His initial was W.L. Hamilton. And he actually did an interview for we call it the Sun now, but it was the Sun Turk. That was the name of the organization that actually did the interview with him. And it was his interview that actually nailed the head nailed it to the coffin, man. He was actually the one that actually put the icing on the cake. After 3 police officers testified that he confessed, but to come find out he was beaten into a confession.
That's pretty common throughout the history of the judicial system. A lot of times, they beat a confession or they starve you to death, or they do have different means of not giving you what you need. And then you just break down thinking that, okay, if I just tell them what they want to hear, they'll let me go.
Well, basically, that's how that turned out. And actually, man, what was so sad about it that he was a kid, man. He was 14 years old. He was confused. He was lost. He didn't have no support from African Americans, no support from his family. And the sad part about it, when he went to trial, it was over 2,000 white people at the trial. Blacks weren't allowed in that area. That's why there was no supporters or anything of his race to support him at that time. And they made a spectacle of it, man. And I was so hurt by it.
Did you say what year this was again?
1944.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it was June 16, 1944 when he was executed. And the trial only lasted 10 minutes.
It takes you longer to assemble the jury. To get the whole crowd in there takes longer than 10 minutes. So no evidence, basically. He did it, it's over, bang the gavel, and that's a wrap.
And that's the wrap. And that's basically what they did. And from the police reports that were just really recently surfaced in 2006, actually showed the coercion and the laughing, the playing, the joking, and these things of this brother being beaten into confession. And it's so hard for me to talk about it because a 14-year-old kid, man, watching that video, it brought me to tears, man. I can look at that, my little nephew, my cousin, your cousin, David, a friend. What's going through the terror that man going through in his head, man. He finna die for something he didn't know nothing about. He finna die as a child, 14 years old. And they actually set the man on top of some Bibles because he was so small that he couldn't reach the electrocution, the thing to go around your head and your legs for the electrocution.
Right.
And not only did the mask, right,
Mm-hmm.
and not only did they electrocute him, David, they hit him with the most powerful charge that they could hit him with, 5,380 volts. And basically, that's like 1,000 volts in currency through the electricity that was going through the machine. And they actually paralyzed him. Then they hit him again with another 5,380 volts, and that what took him out. And the thing of it is, his last words was basically, "Why y'all killing me for something I didn't do?" And that's the part that brought me to tears because it's the mercy, man. You read stuff like that and you go back into history and you go do research, man. It's the mercy, man. It's the mercy that people don't have for children. It's the mercy that people don't have for blacks. It's the mercy that people don't have for themselves, man. Who can take a 14-year-old kid and put him in the electric chair, no matter what he done, and zap that little boy like that and kill him, man? The man mask fell off his face. And you can't do nothing but see the terror in his eyes, the crying. He wanted that comfort. He needed that counsel of his mother and his father, man. There was no strength there to support him.
Right.
And as I kept reading, I come to find out that the electric chair actually was introduced in 1888 in New York City. It was a replacement from hanging.
Which wouldn't have been any better.
Which wouldn't have been any better, right? It'd been more gruesome. But the reason for this podcast is this, sir. David, man, you've been going in day and night, 6, 7, 8 months, man. We trying to reach teenage kids out here to put down the guns, man, to quit the violence, man, because there is no end result that you're going to want in your life, man. There is nothing you got coming from that but suffering. And I'm a victim of it. I did 31 years, Dave. You know what I'm saying? At 17 years old, got out at 48 years old. I'm 50 years old now. And I can tell you right now, when you get in that situation, you're not going to like it. It's total hell. And for people to actually look over the mercy of that brother, that would really hurt me the most, David. I couldn't take it no more, man.
14 years old. Does it tell anything about in between the time that he was charged of when exactly was he charged of the murders of the young girls between the time he was put on trial and then executed? I mean, was this a short period of time, 2 months, 3 months, 1 week, 3 weeks?
84 days.
To basically 3 months.
Right. From the day he was charged.
From the time that he was arrested to the time that they coaxed and coerced a confession out of him, then he was executed.
He was executed in South Carolina Penitentiary, Columbia, South Carolina Penitentiary. That's where he was executed at.
Wow. Yeah, I know you say this with you. Just think about if you were 17, you were 16 when you were arrested. Think if you had a 10-minute trial. And it was one of the states that still allowed it. Well, we still do allow execution. It's not by electrocution, but by lethal injection. It could have been you.
Yes, sir. And that's what I thought about when I first read the story. It hit home because I was sentenced to die, but if they wanted to, they could have just put me on death row and executed me as well. Right. And I still have those same thoughts and feelings about George, man. I mean, that brother, man, I can't look at it in a way to where it didn't affect me, because it did. It affected me. And it wasn't even the electric chair that affected me, man. It affected when I looked in his eyes. I saw the terror. I saw the tears. And that showed me, man, that mercy is something, man, that I believe people don't have, man. When it comes to kids not understanding what they're doing and committing crimes, most kids that commit crimes, man, they don't have facts in their head, man. Ain't nothing facts in their head, man. It's all impulse. They don't have no facts. They don't know the consequences. They don't know the suffering that's going to come behind this. And this brother George Stinney Jr., man, he didn't. He not only didn't know the punishment, but he didn't even do it.
Right.
I mean, later on they found out who done it, but at the same time, the guy was on his deathbed and admitted that he done it, but he was already dead. They found it out 7 years later.
That's what I was gonna say. We buried the lead to the story 70 years after the fact. They exonerated George Stinney, but 70 years too late. The young man, 14 years old, he's dead.
He's dead, David. His family really did give him that moral support and that strong. His father didn't have that strong characteristic of a black father that will fight and die for his son. He basically gave it up because I guess back in the Jim Crow era, it was more if blacks get out of line, he did this, he did that. You know what I'm saying? Or killed him or did whatever.
But they probably would have killed him and his family or burned
the homes
down. Yeah.
Right. But that's something they have to do to me. I can't stand by and let you kill my son. I can't stand by and let you do this and do this, no matter who you is.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, I might not have thought like that as a teenager, but as a man that's confident in himself, as a man that knows what he want out of life, as a man that can make grown folks decisions, I know when I make a choice, it is what it is. But at the same time, man, this thing that was done to Mr. Stinney, man, it kind of hurt me, man. And it put me, and then I step outside and look at these brothers doing drive-by, look at these brothers robbing people, doing this and doing this, and they still dying at the same rate that they were dying back in the Jim Crow era. It's even worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's worse now for sure because at that time we weren't driving down the street or even walking down the street killing one another, but we've taken that to an all new level at this point. And that gets me to a whole different topic, gun control. I don't even want to talk about that because that's a different story for a different day. I mean, these guns are out here readily available for even these young 12, 13-year-old boys. I'm a grown man outside of going to Cabela's or a sporting goods store or something. I don't know where to get a gun. I'm just to be honest with you. So how these young kids can find a gun so easily and so readily. And then on top of it, they want to use them. Nobody fights anymore. You can't throw these hands at them. And I knock you out and you pick your tooth up or you knock my tooth out and we move on. We go have a beer later on. Now I have to kill you. I don't even understand where at that point that things just progressed and escalated so quickly that death is the only thing. Because you don't have you might have a little honor for a minute, but you're going to jail.
Oh, you're going to jail.
Then what honor will you have?
Yeah, you get 5 minutes of fame, but you're already going to jail, and that's what we trying to stop, man.
Right.
Because I feel that growing up on death row, man, we support everybody, man. Kids and families, man, friends. It don't make a difference, man. We got an alternative. Our alternative is to save young black kids, man, and keep them from this type of corruption. I believe most blacks need to go back and start studying their history, man. After I read that story on George Stinney Jr., man, I went all the way back to Emmett Till. I'm going back even farther, man, because this is something that you need to have knowledge about.
I agree.
This is something that you really need to have knowledge about and things that you need to teach your kids and your grandkids about. So you can let them know the type of choices people were making back then and how did it advance all the way to the point where now they're key just over a color. They're key just over a soda type. You know, they're key over anything. And the problem is, man, where did this end at? Where the end to it? There's no end to it.
I want to read, I talked about mercy. And I want to read the definition. Compassion or forgiveness shown towards someone whom it is within one's power to punish or harm. Definition or an example, the boy was screaming and begging for mercy. And that's what little George Stinney was doing. They said he was crying so hard that couldn't keep the mask on his face because the tears were just filling the mask up and it would just keep falling off. And they, again, to your definition and then definition of Webster, those folks had no mercy on that young man.
And they looked over the pain, looked over the tears. They looked over the pain, the tears, they looked over his fears. They even looked within his heart, man, and cut that. I mean, I ain't never met a people that was that goddamn ruthless, man, to the fact where they would even sacrifice their own, David. And what I don't like about this whole situation is that, man, I wish every day, man, I dream, I wish that I was some type of freedom fighter with them at that time. I wish I was back with them at that time. Even though I probably would have died, but I would have stood for something. I'm saying I would have stood for something, David. And as I read farther and farther into Mr. Stinney's case, I come to find out back then, the Ku Klux Klan came about. Everybody think the Ku Klux Klan came and assembled up under the Confederate flag, but they didn't. They assembled up under the United States flag, the stars and the stripes of the flag. And that's what they assembled the Ku Klux Klans up under. So, this state, man, Missouri, the country you want to name, man, with the teachings and the thoughts, man, of which blacks don't even have no more. We never heard nothing about our history growing up. I never heard about Mr. George Stinney Jr. before until I started reading and going back off into my history. I never heard about none of these brothers before.
Right.
And the sad part about it, my family never even told me about none of it. Because right now today, I called 10 of them, they didn't even know who George Stinney was. So this history been hidden from many blacks and many people and within the inner city, man, in the city for years.
Just in general, but that goes into, takes me in a totally different direction. If you found it, I could find it. And if I found it, somebody else can find it. We don't readily look for our history anymore. We've been discouraged from trying to find our history. I mean, it's to the point now they want to take slavery out of the books, out of the history books. They just want to gloss right past that. That never happened. That's a totally different topic for a different day that we might need to get some folks on here. And I'd like to talk to some historians and teachers and people of that realm just to discuss the importance, like you said, of knowing your history. Because, I mean, we don't know it, but we don't seek it either. I mean, we're discouraged from seeking it. And it's almost like what you don't know won't hurt you. But that's the thing. What you don't know will hurt you.
What you don't know will hurt you.
It will hurt you.
And not only that, it will. And not only that, I believe African Americans, man, and I ain't gonna try to put no type of eccentric issues on nobody or anything of this nature. I believe, man, inner city mothers and fathers, man, should always have a stronghold on their kids. And the reason why I'm telling this story, man, because it's touching and it hurt and it still makes me cry even talking about it, man. This brother was killed for no reason, executed.
Right. I would just correct you in one respect. We should have our hands on our kids everywhere. It just doesn't need to be in the inner city.
Right.
It needs to be everywhere. I mean, because people leave the country and move to the city and so on and so forth. You just need to have your hands and your arms are wrapped around your kids. You need to know what they're doing. Don't let them, grow up with the phone or the laptop or the computer in their hand or the tablet. You got to let them read a book. We're having to reading books, man. I don't see people read books anymore. I know it's easily to find on the internet, and that's nice. But what about reading a book? What about just telling stories? But I mean, it all goes back to, man, everybody is in such a hustle bustle status. We don't even sit down and have dinner anymore unless it's a special occasion. It used to be dinner every night. You sit down and you just have discussions, or the news is on and everybody's consuming it at the same time. Now, because there's so many avenues and outlets, everybody's doing their own thing. So that's part of it.
And
that's part of it.
That's part of it. But I've been out 2 years, David, and I haven't seen not one family reunion yet. You used to see family reunions back in the 80s and early 90s and early 80s and early 90s. You see family reunions all the time. Black people. Well,
you got to remember the pandemic kind of stopped that too.
Okay,
that's about the time you got out.
Right. I got out around about the time. Yeah. But
really, that's what killed a lot of family reunions. And still to this day, they'll get together, but then they're still reluctant, especially when you have older people involved. But yeah, you're right. Don't see them like you used to. And the pandemic definitely hurt. but you bring something up that hopefully folks are listening, and maybe this will help people get back into that and want to be around their people and their family and their loved ones. I agree.
Yes,
that's
sir.
a missing piece, because that's the big part of summer, right? Just
is.
riding around, seeing the different barbecues, seeing people gather, people having a good time. Now, if they gather, it won't be happy long. Somebody will make something pop off. Unfortunately. I'm just being real.
It's real, because I actually went to a friend's barbecue when I was released. And I think I was out of prison 2 months. When I get to the barbecue party, now I see all these people, man. I don't know none of them, David, but a few people. You hear me? Mm-hmm. So when I get to the barbecue party and I go to the grill to get my meat and things of this nature, man, the woman that was barbecued had 2 45s on the grill. Over there where you get the water, there was another 45 and a sawed-off shotgun. So as soon as I got mine, I burnt the fuck out, man, because I know what come behind this shit here. Man, I just did 31 years. Man, fuck this shit. I left that party right there. I was gone, man, within 5 minutes. The plate still was on the damn thing. I ain't even chance to eat. I left that motherfucker on the car. I was so scared, man. I got the fuck away.
You know, the minute some alcohol gets into someone, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Or they take the wrong piece of meat off the grill. Hey, you didn't pay for that.
Yeah.
But getting back to the seriousness of George, we want to circle back around and go back to mercy and the compassion that he was not shown. An innocent person killed and executed. And that could happen again, like you said, to anyone's child, anyone's loved one. And that's what we're here to talk about and hopefully prevent. Hopefully someone will play this for their son or their daughter, and quit running with the people that you're running with. Come home at night, come home after school, and let's sit down and talk. Let's do something together. That's the other thing. We don't do enough things together as a family. You know, like I said, everybody's doing their own thing, and it allows that child to be in an environment that he or she is not, they're not mentally capable of being in, and they make poor choices. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And that's where the strict rule that governs. Remember when I was little, they tell you when the lights come on, you had to be in the house before the lights came on. The street lights. I had to be in the house before the street lights came on.
Everybody had that one.
Everybody did, but they kept better track of their kids then. But the thing of it is, David, and to be honest with you, man, to be totally brutally honest with you, this thing that went down with Mr. Stinney, man, it's a hurtful subject, and the thing of it is, man, I pray to his family, man. I love his family. They've been doing a lot of support for him since then. But at the same time, David, man, and I'm gonna tell you this straight up. The last police died in 2016. You know what his last statement was? I don't care about the overturning his case. I know he killed him. And he called the victim family and told them, don't never let nobody tell you he didn't do that. He killed both of them girls. This how angry this white dude was, man. This how angry he was. Right before he died, he called the victim family and told them, don't never let no reporter or nobody in the future tell you that he didn't kill them too. He killed both of them. That man ain't killed none of them. And this how much hatred they have back then in their heart towards African Americans. And so I did something last night. I Googled all type of murders. I'm talking about how people that died. Don't you know black people that died from any type of murder? You can just name one. Or you can make up one. A black that died from it, man. We done died from every type of fucking murder you can name. We done burnt up, stabbed, hanged, shot, buried alive. And what the fuck we do to motherfuckers make them do us like that? Why the fuck they hate us like that? What we done? For people to hate a race of people like that, man. I just want to know what we done to you. Hurtful thing of it, man. I found out that knowledge about that because now I see things different. It's opened my eyes to other opportunities and possibilities, man, to where I can live a better life, how I can see things within people and try to stop and help. That's my only job. My job right now, David, I've been doing 31 years, is to help people. I took responsibility for my actions. I know what I did. I know why I went to prison. I put myself there. But at the same time, I'm going to give these brothers out here these stories, white, black, brown, care who you is. If you want to listen, I'm going to give it to you in the raw. Because I'm well known in penitentiary for 31 years. And I ain't played no game. But at the same time, Dave, I was my own worst enemy in prison. I almost lost my out date because I was so institutionalized. I'm so used to white people doing stuff for me and feed me and doing all this stuff. Here's where when they told me I was going to go home, man, I was going to attack another inmate. But one of my partners stopped me and said, listen, man, you just have anxiety about getting out. You've been here since you was a kid. And I went on, took that first step, man, on out the door. And Dave, let me tell you something, it's the best thing in the world, man. I ran into a beautiful brother like you. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot of beautiful people in my corner, man, in Jefferson City, lawyers and everything, man. Now I got to beautify myself, which is still a struggle.
But you know what? You said something a while back and you said it again. You said you wish you could go back and you could help people, but you just said that you want to help people now, and that's what you can do. That's why we're here.
That's all I can do.
I think that's your mission going forward, is to reach and help, teach, and train as many young people of all colors. You don't have to be African American, because there's just as many other races. I just won't say white or Hispanic or whatever.
Yeah, they all mixed in. They all mixed in.
All just of the human race. Right. We all need to get better. And we all can hear this story of George Stinney, how he was falsely and wrongly accused. Just don't put yourself in positions, make bad decisions to where you might end up like him. And that's our fear for you, but our hope that you listen and don't go that route.
Yeah, and like I say, me and Dave have been representing growing up on death row for a while. And our only mission, like he just said to you, man, we need to catch kids. We don't care what color you are, man. We just trying to keep you on the path to righteousness, man, because I wear the face of a person that was let down. I wear the face of a person that was beaten. I wear the face of a man locked in a cage. I wear the face of a man that was sentenced to die. I wear the face of a man that was looked at negatively looked at. I wear the face of a man that a woman can love, but at the same time, my eyes tell them something different. I wear the face of everything, man, that could be harmful to an individual. But my heart ain't harmful. I just wear the expression. But my heart is pure. And I'm very loyal. So don't let my face deceive you. Because all that is 31 years of prison. I done watch people die of overdose. I done watch people get stabbed to death. This stuff that's on my face, actually, it's my expression of letdown that I did to myself. One thing I never get over, when I went to prison and my grandmother died on me. She was 80-some years old writing the governor. I still got the letter in there right now. She wrote the governor and was like, man, my grandson been gone since he was 16 years old. Man, I'm 80-some years old. Can you just let me go in there and release him and I'll take his place? There is no better love than a woman that do something like that for you, man. There is no better love, man. And I let her down. And that's all the things I live with right now today. That's why my anger sometimes gets me. That's why, because you can't make up stuff you did to people or let them down. When they pass, it's over with, man.
As we found out with George.
Yeah, it's over with, man. Yeah.
It's over. You can exonerate me, but I'm dead. It's not going to do me any good.
Right. And that's all I want people to take from this, man. Well, I suffered for years just to tell you this story. This is my testimony. Even though I suffered 31 years, I still made it out of prison. And the reason I made it out of prison because that was my destiny, was to make it out.
I know you have an engagement coming up on the 14th that we need to let people know about. We'll definitely have something up on here in terms after the fact, but leading into it, you want to tell them about it?
Yeah, April the 14th, I actually was called to speak downtown at the Hyatt Regency Hotel, the presidential ballroom for the NDIA. It's the National Defender Investigation Agency, based out of Washington, D.C. It's an organization that fight to help people that's in prison, fight to get people out of prison, and fight for juveniles for life without, fighting for people, man, to actually stop giving these harsh sentences out to kids and putting them in the hole, locking them behind doors and leaving them there 2 or 3 years. And basically, man, from the time we started growing up on death row, these people followed the podcast for so long. and reached out to me and was like, man, look, we love the way you speak. We love the way you handle yourself. I don't think it's the way I speak. I think it's the way how I accept my responsibility, what I did to myself, and I don't blame nobody else for it. And I can live with those choices. And when you speak from a pure heart, man, a lot of people gonna grab hold to it because not only is I'm speaking it, my word, act, and my deeds, man, I'm living it.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us on Growing Up on Death Row at 17. Continue to listen. Go back through all the 20 plus episodes that we have. It's been a nice experience, and we're only going to continue to come back, tell you real stories, give you real facts, and hopefully help you and help your loved ones.